Every major darts tournament is named after a gambling sponsor. For example, Paddy Power World Championship, Boyle Sports World Grand Prix, and BetMGM Premier League. Betting logos appear on roughly half of Premier League shirt fronts. The government has almost doubled gambling tax. It is banning gambling logos from Premier League shirts in the 2026 to 2027 season. And it has overseen an era in which 15,800 pubs have already closed, currently 6 a week. The number the government does not want you to see is 40. And it changes everything. Almost nobody is publicly connecting these developments, and taken together they could kill professional darts and gut lower league football. These are concrete, checkable facts. Pay attention. Rachel Reeves stood at the dispatch box and called it a policy to protect the vulnerable. But the Treasury's own numbers told a different story. Remote gaming duty, set at 21% for years, will leap to 40% from April 2026. Remote betting duty follows, climbing from 15 to 25% a year later. The Office for Budget Responsibility forecasts this will pull in over £1 billion a year by 2029. But that money does not come from the company's pockets. The Office for Budget Responsibility admits that 90% of the cost will be shoved straight onto consumers, with higher prices, worse odds, and fewer promotions. The immediate fallout was brutal. Flutter, owner of Paddy Power, announced 57 shop closures and put nearly 250 jobs at risk before the ink on the budget was dry. Evoke warned of £130 million wiped off its annual UK profits and signalled thousands of job cuts. Entain, the group behind Ladbrokes, said the new rates put 100,000 jobs and £7 billion of economic activity in jeopardy. Their chief executives did not mince words. These changes will hand a big win to illegal operators. The panic spread to sponsorship. Operators slashed marketing budgets, the first thing to go when margins collapse. The impact is not abstract. It is a direct line from a Treasury spreadsheet to a shuttered betting shop, a lost job, and a vanished sponsorship deal. The government gets to tax it and look moral at the same time. But the cost is dumped onto people who have the least say in any of it. And now every sport that relies on those marketing budgets is staring down an existential threat. Every single flagship darts tournament in Britain is named after a gambling company. Paddy Power, BetMGM, Boyle Sports, BetVictor. The list runs the length of the PDC calendar. There is no soft drink, no airline, no tech giant waiting in the wings. The entire professional structure sits on gambling money, and everyone at the top knows it. When the World Darts Championship doubled its prize fund to £5 million, it was Paddy Power footing the bill. The winner in 2026 will take home £1 million, up from £500,000 just 2 years before. That leap did not come from ticket sales or merchandise. It came straight from sponsor contracts, each one signed with a betting firm. There is no fallback. The PDC's own accounts show over half its income comes from sponsorship, and at least 2/3 of that is gambling. The rest is TV money, mostly from Sky, whose own deal runs to 2030, but is propped up by the same sponsor cash. Darts cannot sell global streaming rights like football. It cannot charge Premier League prices for shirts or hospitality. Without gambling money, the prize funds collapse. The calendar shrinks, the sport withers, and nobody in Parliament has ever cared about darts, not once. But here is what Reeves did not mention. One sport is built entirely on that marketing money, and it has no backup plan. Premier League clubs have been told to strip all gambling sponsors from their shirts by the start of the 2026 to 2027 season. This is not a token gesture. More than half of the clubs in the top flight depend on those deals. The ban removes over £104 million a year from the league's commercial income overnight. For some clubs, that is the difference between breaking even and running at a loss. For others, it means the end of easy cash for squad upgrades or youth academies. The Premier League's commercial chiefs have spent years squeezing every possible pound from shirt space. Betting firms offered the highest bids and nobody else was close. Now, with one policy, the government has wiped out the single most lucrative sponsorship category in English football. But the pain is not shared equally. The richest clubs, Manchester United, Arsenal, Liverpool, can pivot to global brands, streaming giants, or tech companies. Their commercial directors already have replacement deals lined up. The rest, especially those who bounce between the bottom of the table and the championship, face a black hole. They do not have the global reach to attract Amazon or Apple. For them, the ban is not just a moral statement, it is a direct hit to the bottom line, forced by politicians who will never have to balance the books at a club like Burnley or Luton. The first choke point in the sponsorship chain is now locked, and the money will not be replaced. 72 clubs, 3 divisions. Not one of them makes the headlines when ministers talk about gambling. Yet every single team in the EFL relies on Sky Bet's title sponsorship to keep the lights on. That deal is worth over £40 million a year, distributed from the Championship down to League Two. For the smallest clubs, it covers up to 40% of their total income. There is no sugar daddy, no global streaming windfall, no fallback if the sponsor walks. When operators slash marketing budgets to survive a 40% remote gaming duty, Sky Bet's renewal is the first thing on the chopping block. And the justifications are always the same. Members of Parliament stand up in the House of Commons and wave the latest betting scandal or match-fixing headline as proof that the money is dirty. They talk about protecting the game's integrity as if the real threat is a logo on a scoreboard, not the loss of £1 million from a club's budget. The reality is much simpler. The EFL's 72 clubs are being sacrificed for a moral performance. The government gets to claim the high ground. The Treasury gets its £1 billion windfall. And the people who actually run these clubs are left to explain to their communities why the youth teams, the disability squads, and the stadium repairs have all been cut. For them, there is no safety net, only the slow, silent unravelling of the pyramid. 15,800 pubs have vanished from England and Wales since the turn of the millennium. 300 more closed their doors in 2024 alone. That is 6 every single week, gone for good. The British Beer and Pub Association calls it a slow-motion demolition of working-class life. Behind every shuttered pub is a landlord forced out by rising costs, a junior darts team with nowhere left to play, and a community stripped of its last meeting place. The Treasury's answer: slash business rates relief from 75% to 40%. Double the energy bills. 1 in 3 pounds spent in a pub now goes straight to the government. These are not boutique wine bars in Westminster. They are the places where Phil Taylor first picked up a set of darts, where Sunday League footballers gather after a match, where the next generation learns the game from the regulars. When a pub closes, a pipeline closes with it, and nobody in Parliament has ever cared about darts, not once. Illegal betting sites are circling like vultures. As soon as the tax hikes were announced, economists at the Office for Budget Responsibility sounded the alarm, squeezed the legal market hard enough, and punters will simply walk. The numbers are not in dispute. 90% of the new tax burden gets shoved onto customers. Worse odds, fewer offers, less reason to stay loyal. The regulated firms slash their sponsorships and shrink their presence, but the black market does not. Offshore operators pay 0 UK tax, fund 0 sports, and answer to nobody. They offer the same games, sometimes even better odds, but nothing comes back to darts, football, or the communities that depend on them. Industry analysts warn the Treasury is losing on both fronts. Bleeding legal revenue while watching every pound that once funded prize money and club budgets vanish offshore. No shirt deals, no tournament sponsors, no pub teams, just a growing shadow economy, and a government pretending it cannot see what everyone else already knows. Today, Westminster collects billions and calls it virtue, while working class sports bleed out in silence. Darts has no safety net, just a government happy to tax it and look moral at the same time. They never cared about it. The quiet cost lands where nobody in power bothers to look.